So religious people are always coming up to me and asking me, "Hey Dusty, why are atheists so angry? You guys seem mad all the time. What is up with that?" That's a fair question. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine, like me, you were born into a cult, surrounded by cult members your entire life. And imagine every day these cult members came up to you and they said, "Hey Dusty, guess what? You're a sinner, man. You are a sinner. You were born bad and broken and wrong. And if you don't ask forgiveness from an invisible man in the sky for all the bad shit you did, you're going to be tortured forever and ever." Then imagine you asked, "How do you guys know this?" And they told you, "Well, it turns out that thousands and thousands of years ago, God told these primitive desert dwellers all about it, told them to write a book, and then told them to spread this message to everybody who's ever born throughout the history of mankind for all future generations." Even as a kid, I was like, that seems like a really bad way for an all-powerful, all-knowing God to spread information, but, you're my friends and you're my family, and you've been taking care of me my whole life. I have no reason not to trust you, so, okay, I'll go along with it. And then imagine that a bunch of con men preachers conned you out of 10% of your money every week, week in and week out, by threatening you with this ancient, ridiculous horse shit. And they used your money to buy fancy houses and fancy cars and giant new buildings, and to further spread this horse shit and con more people out of their money. And then imagine that the cult told you, it's not just enough for you to believe this yourself. It's not just enough that you give us money so we spread this bullshit. You too have to go out and threaten people with this horse shit. And then imagine, like a good little Christian soldier, you went out and did exactly what you were told. You threatened people with this fake place called hell. You threatened them with this fake shit called sin that doesn't really exist. You threatened them with the worst tortures the human mind could ever imagine forever and ever and ever. And then imagine that you found out that you were a total dickhead the whole time and none of that shit was true. Everybody that told you that it was true was just a cult member. And not only had you spent a lot of your life, your very valuable one life you get on this earth, spreading this bullshit, but you also spent a lot of your money. Your hard-earned money that you worked at your job for. You gave it to con men because they conned you with this bullshit. Imagine that happened to you. Now, wouldn't you be a little bit pissed? Be fucking honest, or of course you would. You'd all be fucking pissed off. And that's exactly what happened to so many of us atheists who were raised in this cult and then grew up and realized it wasn't true. We went out and researched it for ourselves and realized there's absolutely no historical evidence to back any of this shit up. There's no historical evidence to back up the fact that a man named Jesus lived to begin with. None. And just like every story in the history of mankind that contains supernatural elements, there is absolutely no third-party corroborating evidence for anything in the Bible whatsoever. That's the truth. You go look it up and that's what you find. Wouldn't you be fucking pissed? Of course you would. But here's the crazy part, man. I'm not even mad about any of that. I'm really not. All those people that conned me and brainwashed me from birth, they didn't know any fucking better. They were brainwashed and conned by the cult the same way I was. They didn't know they were lying to me. So how could I possibly hold that against them? I'm not mad and angry at them at all. But you want to know what does piss me off? It pisses me off that we're in 2012 right now, and we're still talking about this ancient, ridiculous fairy tale horse shit. What the fuck, people? We live in an era right now. We have handheld computers that allow you to connect to anybody on Earth and video chat with them. Like it's fucking Star Trek, man. And we're still talking about this ancient fairy tale horse shit. They're still trying to teach it in our schools. There's a church every 20 fucking feet. They're still spending trillions and trillions of dollars and millions of man hours spreading this horse shit. What rational, reasonable person wouldn't be pissed by this? Can you imagine if those trillions and trillions of dollars used to spread this horse shit and the millions of man hours were put into science and technology? Can you imagine how long we live, how good the quality of our lives would be? Hell, we would probably be fucking immortal right now. In my opinion, this whole atheist or angry thing is total bullshit. Atheists aren't nearly as fucking angry as they should be. If they really understood the full ramifications of all this, they would be fucking furious, man. But in my observation, they're not. Atheists are some of the most calm people I've ever seen before. If anybody's angry, it's the religious people, man. It's the religious people flying planes into buildings. It's the religious people blowing up abortion clinics. It's the religious people picketing funerals with signs that say God hates fags. It's the religious people spending trillions and trillions of dollars threatening people with eternal hellfire if they don't submit to their doctrine. If anybody's angry, it's the fucking religious in this country. So look, I'm calling on all you atheists out there to get even more pissed off. You should be pissed off. This affects you. Don't sit on the sidelines. Don't sit quietly while these religious people use lies, fear, and intimidation to spread their horse shit. Fight back and cut these religious motherfuckers down with the one single thing that's like the grim reaper of death to religion. The power of logic. Logic.